So there is this mysterious 1930s pattern that says you can knit an entire sweater in 3 hours. I have all my supplies. I'm going to challenge myself to see if I can actually knit that sweater in 3 hours. Who's with me? Want to join me? Keep watching. I'm going to see where I get. Hello all, and welcome to Killer Kitsch Lizzie, my weird little world where I like to knit and sew, do other crafty things, and attempt an unusual is the word I was going to go with. Different kind of challenge, I think might be better. Anyways, I've been posting a little bit about this on my Instagram, and I also have put information over on my Patreon with the pattern and the link to the original blog post about the 3-hour sweater. So there's a pattern from the 1930s that it says that you can knit this sweater. I'm using my phone so for this because it's just easier for this right now, but the little sweater in the top corner there, it says that you can knit this in 3 hours. So it is a short sleeve sweater with a yoke with quite a long or fairly long, well, 3-inch ribbed waistband. And I'm a fast knitter and I'm not even sure I could knit this in 3 hours. However, I'm going to take on the challenge and I'm going to see how far I can actually get while knitting this sweater. So what I'm going to do is when I get started, I'm going to set a timer for 3 hours and see where I am at the end of that. But I did do a slight little bit of prep work ahead of time because, and I'll explain in a second, you're using, well, in the pattern it's called Germantown Zephyr. Now, you can't find that anymore. It is considered a worsted yarn. I did look up on Ravelry and I found a few different people that had information on it, so it seems to be a worsted yarn. You're using, now it says bone needles, but I think if you went to a vintage shop you might find them, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty impossible to find these now. 5mm and 10mm needles. I'm not 100% sure what those are in US sizes. I think 5mm might be a 7. 10mm, I have no idea right now. It's easy for people to look it up. And a crochet hook. It says number 3, and that's to probably finish the neckline. And according to this, the gauge is 4 stitches to 1 inch. So you're probably looking at a bulkier yarn, like a bulkier worsted for this. However, I don't want to go and buy brand new yarn just to do this do this challenge. So I had quite a bit of this left over from when I did my burgundy, oh my god, I'm having issues today. My red heart cardigan. So there's enough here, I think, to do the entire sweater because it is, it's short sleeve, as I said. This is more of a light worsted, and I did swatch. So this is my prep work. And I suggest you do as well, because, you know, yarns from the 30s, the weights are different than now, the textures and stuff like that. So I do recommend that you swatch. So in my case, I did, let me see, what did I do here? I did, so for me, 12 rows equaled 3 inches, and it was 4 rows to 1 inch rows. So this came out slightly bigger than, this. So I got 3 stitches to 1 inch. Now if I were to, which is weird because for a bulky yarn you would think, if I used a bulky yarn you would think that it would come out even bigger. But according to this gauge, 4 stitches to an inch is a bulkier worsted. Anyway, so I am aware that this is going to come out slightly bigger than the actual pattern, which is fine. So I'm glad I did the swatch because I know where I'm going to be at with things. Now, this is for I think it was a size 16, and usually a size 16 is about a 34 bust. So I am not a 34 bust. I'm knitting this. I'm going to knit this pattern as is. I'm not going to faff around with any adjustments to make it fit me, not this time around. And probably going to give this away as a gift because I have a friend who is a 36 bust, so this is probably going to come out as a 36 bust depending because of the gauge of my swatch. So she's going to be getting this as a gift. Yeah, so I have put the instructions over on my Patreon, as I said. I have also put the link to the original blog post. I think it was called the Vintage Pattern Files, I think is what the name of the website is. I have attached the instructions as an attachment. Yeah, I'm having that kind of a day. Okay, and so it is all over there. I did try, so the original post did have a link to the original poster of this, but that link is dead now. But she also has a JPEG of the pattern instructions there. So I'm just going to read off quickly what the first instructions are, and then I'm going to get going. So you are to, this is for the back piece. With the 5mm bone needles, cast on 52 stitches, and in my case I'm going to do long tail cast on. I just find that it makes the waistband more easier to like stretch and fit back to your shape and stuff. And I'm going to do a knit 2, purl 2 rib for 3 inches. And then I'm going to change to the 10mm needles, which are massive, and you're going to then knit in stockinette stitch for 9 inches, which again would be way too short for me because I'm 5'8". That's going to come like right at my waist, and especially with my boobage. So and then you're going to decrease 1 stitch. Oh, sorry. Then you're going to bind off 2 stitches at the beginning of the next 2 rows. Then decrease 1 stitch both ends of the needle every knit row until there are 44 stitches remaining. And then I'm going to start the yoke. Will I get that far in 3 hours? Guess we're going to find out. So, get my 5mm needles and my yarn. Move some stuff out of my way. Also, I didn't bother. Usually what I do with big balls of yarn like this is I use my winder and I wind up a bunch of balls that I can't be bothered. Also, I am filming this on my phone in my living room. I know the quality isn't quite as good as my DSLR and having my lights and stuff, but I want to kind of quickly be able to like set up and film as I'm going, as opposed to setting up the whole thing because it takes a while to set everything up. Also, for those who are wondering, I am not going to make you watch 3 hours of me knitting. I am going to pop back in every once in a while and just to give you an update on where I'm at. Because I think watching, unless you're a cat, I think 3 hours of me knitting is probably going to get boring pretty fast. So, alright, if you're joining in on this video, let's go. Hey Google, start a 3-hour timer.
Got it, 3 hours. And that's starting now.
Gonna start with the rib. Or sorry, the cast on. I also have I'll do a little chit chat for a few minutes and then I'll do like an update in a while. But on in my videos, and I'll link it below, there is a knitting tutorial, and in that knitting tutorial I show you how to do some cast-ons, and the long tail cast-on is one of them. So if you're not sure how to do that, and you want to do it, head on over to that video and check it out. But if you don't want to do a long tail cast-on, you don't have to. Cast on whatever way you want, because it doesn't actually say in the instructions what kind of cast on you're supposed to use. Alright, and 52 stitches is what I was casting on. Also what I normally do is I use stitch markers just to help me make sure I'm casting on the right amount of stitches. You're going to hear a noise too, because I don't have my mic on, so I don't have anything canceling out the outside noises. What I usually do, and you don't have to do this, is every 20 stitches I usually put a marker, if I can get it on here, just to again keep track of what I'm doing. And yeah, I hate it when people interrupt me when I'm counting stitches. So this also helps with your counting of stitches. And if I'm doing lace work, I use a lot of stitch markers. So this is not lace work at all. This is ribbing, stockinette stitch, and I believe the yoke is also, I think the yoke is also ribbed, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the yoke is definitely 2x2 ribbing. So you're going to get your ribbing practice in if you're new at knitting. By the end of this, I'll be able to tell you if this is actually beginner friendly or not. So anyways, I'm going to continue casting on, and then I'm going to start the ribbing, and then I will be back. Next little bit that you're going to see of me when I come back is going to be, I don't know how far I've gotten after like half an hour or something. Anyway, just popping back. Just wanted to mention, the swatch is, like, as I've said multiple times now, it's 4 stitches to an inch. When I did my swatch, I used the 10mm needles to do, and in stockinette stitch to do it. I just realized and measured, I think they must have used the ribbing for their gauge, because in the 5mm needles, doing the ribbing, it's 4 stitches to an inch. So, which is a huge difference between what I got, even looking at how big my stitches are on here compared to here. So I think that they use the ribbing as their stitch gauge. If anybody who's made this sweater is watching this video and you know more information, please post both below. I might be wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, definitely the ribbing is 4 stitches to an inch, whereas this was 3 stitches to an inch. Yeah. Anyway, just thought I'd come back and mention that. Okay, back to it. Okay, 1 hour. 1 hour to do the ribbing. I've now switched to the 10mm needles. I did 1 row, but 3 hours to knit the sweater, that's not gonna happen. Although the 10mm needles, it will knit faster. It's just you're not gonna get done in 3 hours. So because I've now determined that is going to take more than 3 hours. What I'm going to do going forward now is when the 3 hours are up, I'm going to come back and show you where I am at the 3 hour mark, how much of the back piece is done. And then after that, what I'm going to do is every time I knit the garment, I am actually going to time and then add it, like time it, and then add it all up and let you know how much time it realistically took to knit the pieces. That's not going to include sewing it up. So I am going to keep coming back. And you know, after the 3 hour mark, and then I'll let you know how long it took just to do the complete back piece, you know, so I'll do that. So you're going to continue to see snippets of this in the video. I hope you continue watching the video, because like it would be, I think, of interest to everyone to see how long this 3 hour sweater really takes from somebody who's been knitting for a long time and knits fairly fast. Yeah, so the next time you see me will be at the 3 hour mark to let you know where I've gotten. Springtime interlude. Why am I inside right now? Well, I wasn't completely inside. I paused everything and then I had something to eat and I went for a short walk. It's a gorgeous day today. It is May, when I'm filming this, it's like May 6th by the time you see it. Might be a week out from now or a week and a half out from now by the time I edit and put it up. But it's absolutely gorgeous out. I'm even considering for part of this video, we'll see how the weather goes, but going and sitting in the park and knitting for a while. But I'm going to have to see how the weather goes. We're back and forth between beautiful blue skies and sun and rain. But yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. Why am I inside right now? Challenge. That's right. That's why. Back to it. Okay, we are actually at the 2 hour timer. 1 hour left to go. I just thought I would check in. Once you switch to the 10mm needles, it does grow very quickly and it gets much wider. But the ribbing does have a bit of, you know, it's got some good stretch to it. So far I have knit 3 inches of rib and 5 inches of the stockinette stitch, and it is saying that when you hit 9 inches of the stockinette stitch, that's when you start to do the armhole decreases. So in total you're supposed to knit 12 inches for the body before you do the armhole decreases. So yeah, this is 2 hours of work. Also, because the knit is so loose, you can't actually see through it. So yeah, I'm going to continue on. So I think by the 3 hour update, I'm probably going to be, I don't know, to the yoke maybe? Maybe, because I have 4 more inches to go to reach the 9 inches for the body of the stockinette, and in 1 hour I did 5 inches, so I'll probably just be partway into the yoke, I would think. We'll see. Anyways, back to it. Okay, so 3 hours is up. I've knit 12 inches. I'm now, so 3 of the ribbing and 9 of the body, and I'm now at the cast off of the armholes. So that's where 3 hours gets you. If you are an average knitter, um, I mean, I'm more than average knitter. I do knit quite fast, but even then, that's as far as I got. So 3 hours to knit a full sweater? No. But this is knitting very fast. Like I said, once you get to the 10mm needles, this knits up really super fast. And the yoke, it'll slow down again because it's ribbing, but you know, that's fine. So the next update is going to be, won't be today. The light is fading, so I can't really film much more with natural light. So I'm going to still continue on today knitting, finishing the back off, and then see how much further I can get. And from this point on, I'm actually going to be keeping track of how much time I'm spending knitting. So by the end of the whole thing, the knitting part only, I will give you a total of hours it took for me to knit the pieces prior to seaming them up. Okay? So the next update you're going to get from me is not going to be today. It'll be, I don't think I'm going to be able to do any updates tomorrow, but it'll be like in 2 days from now. So in the next update, you're going to see where I've gotten. Okay, here I am again. Apologies for lack of updates between the last little clip you saw and what you're going to be seeing now. Unfortunately, there was a lot of stuff going on and I wasn't able to film. So I've finished the front and the back, each piece taking me about 5 hours. I'm now working on the sleeves and I'm currently an hour and a half in. Yeah, so this is the front. I know it looks scary, and it looks loose, but we're going to be crocheting the, all around the neckline, to give it a nice clean finish. This is the yoke. You can see that it's a 2x2 rib. The waist looks like it's extremely small. It is not. It has a lot of stretch in it. Quite a bit of stretch, actually. Oh, it's falling down. So something that looks like it's super tiny will fit probably a 34 to 35 inch waist easily. And I think this pattern said it was a 16, which means 34 bust. Because of the loose stitch on this with the 10mm needles, it stretches a lot. And a lot of people are complaining. You can see how loose the stitch is there. A lot of people who have made this sweater have complained that, in fact, it's see-through, but you have to remember this pattern was done in the 1930s, and because it was done in the 1930s, women would wear camisoles underneath, or slips, right? So, and they would usually be skin tone or something close to their skin color, or white or beige or whatever, right? Pink sometimes. So yeah, you're not going to see your bra, right? So I think that's a lot of people's concerns who made it. I've noticed other people that you can see there how see-through it is. You can see the sleeve of my Rita blouse, right? I've noticed in a bunch of makes that people have gone down a couple of needle sizes and then probably graded up, which when I make one for myself, I'm going to have to do that. So that's the front. I just pinned it in place because it wasn't holding as well as the front. Now, so far, as I said, it's been 5 hours per piece for the front and the back. Sleeves I'm about an hour and a half in. I think it'll be 2 hours when I'm done. I'm like 2/3 done knitting. I feel, now I don't own or not used a knitting machine, and I don't even know if a knitting machine goes up to a stitch this big. If it does, please let me know. I would actually love to have a vintage knitting machine. But But yeah, I think if you had a knitting machine, I bet you could knock all the pieces off, minus the sewing, off in 3 to 4 hours. But as a hand knitter, it's not gonna happen. So I think in total the knitting, and I will do an update in the knitting, I think is going to be like about 12 hours of knitting, and then the time to sew it up and do the single crochet around the neck. You're probably looking at another hour and a half, depending how fast you sew. But I will do another update, and in the next update, what I will do is, I think I'll have everything finished, sewn up, crocheted, and all that, and talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so there's that update. And I apologize that I'm not on camera doing this. It's the only place I could really do it sitting down is in the front, because of the way I'm setting the camera up. The only good light right now back here, and because it's overcast and raining today. So also, I just didn't feel like putting makeup on today. Anyway, that's another update. The final update will be next. Hello! So I am trying to do this before all the light fades from the living room. I'm here for a final update on the 3-hour sweater. I apologize for not popping in more often than this. I figured the front and the back were basically the same amount of time. The only difference with the front was there's a slit for a keyhole. And nobody really wants to watch me knit sleeves, so I don't think so. I mean, okay if you do, but okay, so, and then I didn't even, after all of that, I forgot to do my grand total here. So the sweater is done. Okay, sorry for the delay there. Grand total has been written. The sweater is done. The only thing that's missing is I haven't sewn a button on yet. I will do like a better picture. I don't know if this is going to fit on Bunty. I doubt it. I might have to do a final picture and put it on Instagram, because this is definitely going to my friend. It's not hanging very well in there. That's better. The waist looks teeny tiny. It is not. It stretches quite a bit. I used acrylic, so if you're using wool, if you block it, you can block the waist to fit better for you. Acrylic has doesn't need to be blocked, and this yarn, because it's such big needles, has a lot of stretch. So yeah, so everything is done, including the crocheting. As I said, I'll take a better picture once a button is on it. There we go. So I have a couple of notes about the pattern and some thoughts. And then I'll give you the grand total at the end. So first I'm going to give you some notes about things I came across in the pattern as I was knitting. So there is a line when you're at the sleeves, after you've done the ribbing for the yoke part of the sleeves, you're doing an increase all the way through, and you're increasing one stitch either like each end every other row. Then it gets to the part where you're going to start knitting stockinette, and it says to continue doing an increase at every end of the sleeve. But it does not say if you're supposed to do every row or every other row. I guess they're assuming that you know. Anyway, you're still going to continue doing every other row. If you don't, your sleeve's not going to be long enough. Down to the armpit. So there's that. So keep that in mind. I'm also going to put all these notes over on Patreon and my thoughts when I post this. So after you've watched this video, if you need reminders, head over to Patreon. It'll all be there along with the PDF, an actual PDF. I have a PDF now of the pattern. Right prior to this video going up, it was a JPEG of a screenshot from the website I got the pattern, but I think initially I downloaded this pattern quite a while ago. And when I did download it then, there was a link to the PDF that was still active. It's no longer active. So I'm not sure if the website that I got it from, I think it's called the Vintage Pattern Files. I'll link it with the information as well. I'm not sure if things get added or updated very often in there. It is a free service she's doing. It's for free. So, I mean, it would be, and there's a lot of stuff on there. So to go back and like continually update stuff would be just too time consuming. So I don't actually blame her for not doing that. Also, the cuff ribbing, when you get to the cuff ribbing, it's going to be a 2x2 rib for 1.5 inches. Again, it doesn't tell you when you get to the cuff if you're supposed to go back to the 5mm needles. Basically, every sweater I've ever made, you go to the smaller needles for the any of the ribbing, the waist, the cuffs, whatever, right, in the neck. I know that by looking at the size of the 10mm stitches, if you, and maybe you want it this way, I don't know, but if you stick with the 10mm all the way to the end, your sleeve is going to be very loose. Now, again, maybe you want it that way because when you do the 5mm for the cuff, it brings it in a lot, you know, and I know there have been people that complain that this is too tight. So, I mean, maybe that's why they don't change the needle. I don't know. But personally, when you look at the photo of, or the illustration of the sweater, it's tight at the cuff and it like puffs out a bit, right? So if you, again, do the 10mm, you're not going to get that puff. Now, if you are making this and, for instance, it is too tight, then, you know, you can add a few stitches within, like it tells you when you get to this point to knit 2 together and knit 2 together all the way till you get down to, I can't remember how many stitches right now. Just like don't do as many decreases and then do the 5mm needles. Those are my thoughts on that. Would I make this again? Yes. I would have to size up for myself. The other thing I'm going to do, I would personally do, is size down the needles from maybe a 10 to an 8. Only because I do find the weave is a bit loose for me personally. This is my preference. People have complained that the sweater is see-through. That's because it's on 10mm needles. And also, you have to remember that in the 1930s, women would be wearing a camisole or a slip or some kind of foundation garment that would probably be skin tone or minimally like a pink, a beige, or a white. And depending on what they're wearing, could be black, right? And because of that, the loose weave in the knit wouldn't matter because you're not going to be seeing a bra, right? I think that's what people's concerns are, is with the loose weave or stitch, their bras are showing through. So, I mean, the solution is to put a camisole under. Those are my thoughts there. So, also being a 1930s sweater, this is truly a Great Depression sweater. Now, I have not found any other information other than what is on the website where I got the PDF. I have searched endlessly. I personally would love to get my hands on the book. Or it says from a booklet, I think is what it says. Yeah, 1930s booklet. So what I'm assuming here, and I am just assuming, is like during World War II, a lot of booklets were sent out and pamphlets and stuff were sent out for the mend and make do, or make do and mend, or mend and make do, however you say it, to help housewives and young women, tips and stuff on how to, mend or take clothing and sweaters and stuff and reuse them, or renovations on garments, how to, tailor things to fit your body, taking an old dress and making children's clothes out of it, all that stuff, right? And I wonder if this sweater, because it does not use very much yarn. That's the other thing. I had that massive ball of yarn. I barely made a dent. Again, it's because of the big weave, 10mm needles, all of that stuff, right? So I'm wondering if it's a way for people to use up yarn back then, or additionally, if they had a sweater that was like, maybe the sleeves have like gone out of them, like the elbows or whatever, and they've like taken the yarn and pulled it and wound it and reused that yarn. So I'm wondering if that is possibly why. And you could also color block this. You could do the yoke in a different color, the sleeves to match the yoke, all that kind of stuff to use up yarn. So there's that. What else? I had a few notes here as well. Yeah, so that was my big thing. I was like thinking long and hard about it. I'm thinking this was a way to repurpose like old yarn or leftovers. Yeah, I think that was it. That was kind of all my notes, I think. Oh, one more thing actually. Now, I don't own a knitting machine, and I've never used a knitting machine, so I don't know if this is even possible because of the size of the 10mm needles. I don't know if knitting machines go up that size. If they do, let me know. I would love to know. I would actually love to have a knitting machine, period. But I think because of how simple the actual pieces are, I think you might actually be able to knock off all the pieces in 3 hours. Knitting them, not so much. So let's get to the total of how long it took me to actually knit the sweater. How long did it take me to knit this? Which is a very cute sweater, by the way. I'm not making fun of it. It's a very cute, very clever sweater. Anyway, so I'm gonna break it down first, and then I'll give you the total. You can do the math with me if you want. So the back took me 5 hours. The front took me 5 hours and slightly a little bit more. Not enough to make a difference. That was the only reason that took a little bit longer, was because of the what do you call it, the knitting the split, like doing the split of the sides. That just took slightly longer to knit because you had to like organize it. And the sleeves took me about an hour and a half. I knit both sleeves at the same time, which I recommend everybody do. And then the other thing was the sewing up and the crochet of the neck took about 1 hour. So in total, the 3-hour sweater took me 12 and a half hours. It is like a super, super fast knit, incredibly fast. If you're a beginner who has made at least one garment, and I don't mean hats or sleeves, I mean actual garment, like a simple garment, bolero, whatever, then this would be good for you. It would be super fast for you to knit, continue to build your skills and practice your tension and all that. This is perfect. So it is beginner friendly. Was I bored knitting this sweater because I've knit for so long in my life? No, not at all, actually. It's a good palette cleanser as well. So, that all being said, are you going to knit the sweater? Because you should. It's fun. It was a lot of fun. I could literally just like do an hour here, an hour there, and I got, done in under a week, right? Including like sewing it up and crocheting the neck. The neck crochet took no time at all. So, as I said earlier, the PDF is now on my Patreon with some extra details and notes and stuff that I made from the pattern. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, comment below, and I would love it if you subscribed. So until next time, stay kitschy.